He actually Googled it out, so it's pretty neat.
Our passions are her work, her daughter, and desires to make today better than yesterday. So with that, I'll let her start her presentation.
Thank you. Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? Still awake? I got a after lunch session. I'm like, ooh, that should be a challenge. But I'll try to keep you awake. And without further ado, I'm going to start. Before the presentation, can I have a number of hands who are from kind of a more IT field? Okay, quite a few, that's awesome. And more of the business side? Okay, awesome. So just letting you know, whenever I stray here or there, feel free to raise your hand for any questions that I can clarify. Also, as you know, Tableau is good for both IT and business people, but there's some fine lines that I would like to discuss in terms of how we try to guide the users. Okay, so today we're going to discuss the key elements of how the state at DS implemented and how we decided to do this. We wanted obviously maximum adoption, but we didn't want the agencies to pay for it in terms of the direct cost, so we came up with a model. Hopefully, a lot of people still don't know about it, so it's a privilege to be here today and to talk to all of you. That's my email. You can email me anytime. I'll be happy to respond. So currently we support both Cognos and Tableau, so the BI Enterprise Intelligence Team as we call it. There's different BI teams and different agencies. We're not the head of them, but we do work with them to support their initiatives, only because we have the Enterprise Tableau and Enterprise Cognos. And I'm not going to go into this. You guys already know that Tableau is more for visualization and it's easier the first few yards, and then it gets a little complicated. But the tools are different. Cognos is more traditional, more heavy on basically transactional data, you know, your daily stuff. Tableau is more of a summary level. It can go into details, but that's something you guys have to make a call on. These are just some highlights. We do have over 4,000 Cognos users. And we started probably around 3.5, 4 years back, we started Tableau. The reason we got that is there was a gap that we were trying to address. Cognos was only connecting to certain things, and when we had to connect to other data sources besides OAKS data, or you know, in your terms would be ODOT data, what would happen is we were being an obstacle for a lot of the analysts to connect themselves, and then IT would be involved. There were huge costs to implement all of that in Cognos. We decided to get Tableau because it seemed at that point a great solution that could connect to any data source, whether it's Salesforce or whether it's a simple Excel sheet for the analyst or the IT person to quickly get some reporting on it. And I'm not going to go into details, but basically it shows that from, I think, 100 users, we've grown to around 2,600 users today. So what is our model? We just give you the license to the Tableau and then we forget about you guys. I wish it was that simple. We actually are very happy to say that we do hold your hand throughout the end-to-end solution, right from advisory as to what are you trying to achieve. You have a business proposition, you have an IT shop working together. How are you trying to achieve what you can? We'll provide the hosting, so we'll give you a site on the DS servers that we maintain and upgrade and do all the fun stuff. And we'll make sure that your site admin, whoever you appoint, is actually trained on it. We also provide a lot of enterprise data. I don't know how relevant that is to ODOT because this is mostly, enterprise data is mostly OAKS data. Now, I'll show you some samples, but just remember we can do the same thing for ODOT as well. And we also provide training. It's through ELM. It's at no cost. And the support on the server. This is just a diagram to show we couldn't do anything without state leadership, so I'm very thankful to my state leaders who supported this initiative and how the benefits and feedback and the whole sustenance circle works. You guys already know about this. The main purpose is to drive transparency, encourage statewide savings, encourage collaborations between different agencies. There was an instance where PICO and ODOT and ODH long back were trying to get some kind of crash data on railway, and that was a perfect example where you guys could actually exchange data, and you don't have to send it to each other. You can put it on the IOP platform, which I think is coming up shortly, and I'd encourage you guys to listen to that as well as to how all of that works. And then Tableau can sit as a layer on top of it to get your reporting and analytics done. And again, the main thing was to empower the agencies, so we're not an obstacle to, my reporting techies are not an obstacle to what reporting and analytics you guys want. You can, basically, it's like a self-service. Okay, I have a lot of slides, so if I rush, just wave your hand. This is the enterprise Tableau structure. It's just showing you how Tableau connects to all these various kinds of data. And there's really, we've connected to a lot of different data sources. We've not seen obstacles so far, but depends on where your data resides, we can work with you. For those who came in new, please let me know if you have any questions. This is how we are supporting our content structure. Often the question is, okay, you give me a site owner, and what after that? I mean, can John see the stuff that Amit wants to see? Because I don't want John to see it. So all of that is in your hands. Once we give you the keys to the kingdom, you can actually control, that this agency can see it publicly, but this is only for internal use. And even within this, you can create a folder for fiscal, for HR, and even within HR, you can create subfolders. It's kind of made in a very common sense kind of way, but we are there to support you if you have any questions. And you can restrict data sources, so same dashboard that you build, you can have Mr. X see it, but not Mr. Y. So there's a lot of flexibility, which I like about the security. On top here, it's just basically saying we do work with a lot of agencies to have their project work done. A lot of times they're able to do it themselves. And we are not stringent about, we want the whole project that we should do, or we kind of leave it to the agency and say, okay, you did 50% of it, now you're having some struggles with the complicated stuff. Can we help you get there and achieve your goal? So if you ever get stuck, just waver and let us know. This is an onboarding process. Usually it takes forever. No, it takes less than a week, I guarantee that. You have my number and phone number there. So we're pretty happy about that. It takes typically 2 days if you fill the form out. It's a simple form. And the team is always ready to help you go through it, but it basically talks about the site owner and the site admin. That's the email over there, the business intelligence email. Just feel free to send us this, and we'd be happy to onboard you. What this does is give you a site. Now, ODOT's huge, and we realize you guys might have different requirements. One site might not be fit for all of you. So if you need more than one site, please talk to me, and we'd be happy to do so. Okay, this basically, again, the same service model. We try to support all the training. We don't leave you out there, so make sure you take advantage of the free trainings. There's 101, 102. I won't go into a lot of details, but one is for the end users, especially the site admin role is very vital because you hold the keys to the kingdom, and all of the site the security and different roles, you guys maintain that. We have a new development, and I'll talk about it shortly. It's the web authoring one. If you've noticed, Tableau has grown a lot in the past few years actually, not days, I wish. But what's happened is it was heavily reliant on the desktop. Now you have Tableau server having a lot of the capabilities that were there on desktop. So a lot of the agencies are moving away from buying their own desktops, which is not a huge deal, but that's something additional you guys should know. And ask for a free desktop license. So if your agency and your fiscal officer, you don't want to go through the whole hoop of buying all of that, just contact me and we'll be able to give you a free loaner license. Not forever, but they'll give it to you for a few months, maybe 6 months or so. Just for you guys to see whether that's something that you guys want to pursue. And we want to remove all the obstacles that are generally in there to adopt the tool. And yes, this is a great tool, but there's no one there to actually lead me through or support or training. We want to remove all of that. If there's any feedback, I would really love for you guys to give that to me so we can incorporate that. So enterprise solutions, so we, as a business intelligence analytics team, we do support both enterprise and targeted solutions. The difference is enterprise solutions are more than one agency, so we take maybe 10 agencies in a room and see what kind of information they want and build something for them. That would be an enterprise-wide solution, versus a targeted would be, it only applies to your agency. Then that would be there's a cost to that, but the enterprise ones, there's no cost to that. So if ODOT, collaborates with other agencies and 5 of your agencies say, we need this is great for data sharing, and like I said, IOP is coming up, I think it's at 2:45. Great discussion, would encourage you guys to go there as well. See how those synergies work and see how they can benefit you. So in terms of enterprise tool, where do I get Tableau and Cognos? Tableau, because we're talking about Tableau today. If you go to My Ohio, you guys log into My Ohio today? Okay, so just go in there, you should see both tools there. You should have access to it if your supervisor has given it to you. These are the enterprise service offerings that have been done so far. So we've actually been very happy to do this. We had a board of HR and financial people, so there are a lot of CFOs that volunteer their time into these things. And we've built these dashboards, and we've gone live with a few of them. We are going live next with the CIO and the enterprise security dashboards. This is a sample of the human resource dashboard. This is just the landing page. I think there's like more than 20 dashboards in here, but what it shows you, you can benchmark your agency against others. You can see a lot of detail. There's a lot of detail. If you guys need to demo it or need access to it, just call us. I think you should have access if you have it in Oaks today, and I think ODOT's, a lot of your stuff is not on Oaks, which is fine. We can still arrange for a similar dashboard and give you something similar to watch. This is just, this is blurry on purpose because a lot of people don't want their data to be seen and it's HR, but this is just a sample of how it looks. And you can see over 1,000 dashboards views in the past 6 months, and what I want to say is when you're thinking about ODOT or thinking about collaborations, it's important to form that leadership committee that can guide us to what you guys want. We can do those things, but we definitely need that collaboration between your agency, because some of your things are very unique, and we'd like to respect that and make sure that that is how we're going. Each of these dashboards, this is the financial one, so OBM, there were I think 16 CFOs and a few other financial people that helped us build this. Again, from everything from custom expenses to daily cash balance, fund activity, budget, monthly cash balance. There's a lot of IT people here, so I don't think anyone's interested in budget. But I just wanted to give you an idea. When the budget people come to you guys for those kind of needs, you can let us know as to maybe we have something built that you can replicate. And then we built, in that dark, we built a help page for each of them, because we want to make sure administrations change and people change their jobs. We want to make sure there's documentation is always not found. So just beside every dashboard, we have a help page right there, which tells you how to use it. This is, I'm very excited about this. We are actually going ahead and starting the CIO dashboards. Again, like I said, our state leadership has been very supportive about this. So we will start with a small 1 or 2 CIOs, make sure we have a good base. And then we're going to go to the MAC, where all other CIOs are there, including the ODOT CIO, and see what can be done at different levels for them to be able to see this. We chose some common things, and I won't go into details, but we can change all of this. It's just a sample. This is a live dashboard that we built, because you have your data in different sets and different areas, and we can pull all of that. It doesn't have to stay in one system. As you know, Tableau can tie into 2 or 3 different systems and give you the reporting or the analytics. This is where you can access the CFO HR dashboards. This is information for your CFOs and HR people. If you know them, send them here. They should be able to access it. Targeted solutions. So this is, I think, more applicable to ODOT. It's where you have customized needs. And I'll show you a few public examples and a few internal-only examples. So interactivebudget.ohio.gov, that link, if you click on it, you can actually see the whole website. But that's where it's basically to give you an idea as to what are the different ways. There's tree maps, there's different kinds of ways to represent data. What is what you're looking for that your business will use most. I had a case where I think it was BWC had FBI people looking at data as they used to go out to these pharmacies and these other crime areas. They wanted something on hand that is live every 3 hours. So that's a great thing because otherwise they would have to send an email, wait for the email, and that was not always the case. This way they could filter out, they don't want to wait on the analyst, they can filter out what they want to see, and they want to make sure that they're able to get to their jobs. So those are some empowering things. When I hear those things, I'm like, okay, so this is not just about IT people trying to do a job or business people. It affects human lives. It affects citizens. It affects how the health of Ohio is doing in terms of every field. So we need to think a little bigger, and when we build these solutions, if we keep that in mind, I'm sure that is something that would tie easily to how we relate to the citizens. Again, this was built, there's a lot of dashboards here, but this was built to make sure that it's a self-service tool. Instead of getting hundreds of inquiries into ODOT, public inquiries or private inquiries, if you have something like this built, the citizen can just go there and maybe reduce half of your staff time. This is another very nice example where the Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services had a lot of reporting in PDFs, a lot of reporting in different systems, and how it used to take them 4 to 5 days, and now it takes them a minute. For all the directors all across, they have 45 directors, and it was very hard to coordinate and have transparency and the same repeated data, because the data one day would not look like the data other day. So all of this helped them do it. They used a lot of Cognos reports as their base, and I know ODOT has a lot of your Cognos reporting base done. So you can use that as well, and then and you can write your own rules to see what you want to see in Tableau. So this is just an example of how they tied in every aspect: budget, expenses, vendor revenue, staffing time, overtime, all of that into one dashboard. So I'm just going to skip through it. Let me know if something interests you. This is another example of security dashboards. In IT, you guys face this all the time, whether it's compliance or whether it's login issues or something simple or something complicated. You want to make sure your health is there at your fingertips. It's very hard. I know you guys have to run through a lot of hoops, and it's not always easy to get a simple answer, but there are ways to make it more simplified. So we have what we call it is it's a base, and once we meet you, we can customize this base to your requirements. And once we build that, we're out of it. We do the knowledge transfer. We don't have the keys anymore. So security-wise, there should be no worries. A common question is, where do they drill down to? Yes, this is great graphics, and I can see my budget's low here and this project is at risk, but where does it drill down to? It drills down to a very basic level, just like a transactional system. But you want to make that decision that you want to use it as a transactional system, or you want to use it as a kind of analytics and a summary kind of a view. That's totally up to you. The tool can do either, but I kind of leave it to the agency to determine, do you need drill downs to all dashboards, or do you need drill downs to only certain dashboards? This is another initiative. So this is public. This last one, security, that was internal, so no one else can see it. This was one of the governor's initiative, and anybody have kids in college? Oh, this is a young crowd. Okay, so then you guys, this is basically, they wanted to make sure that the ACT score has some kind of correlation with what kind of jobs are there in Ohio. It's a long stretch, but this was the initiative, and oftentimes we just give the score and we forget about it, but when people are looking in terms of policy, they want to make sure how does this tie to every little thing. So this was a great initiative which we helped do. Tableau upgrade, we do this every 6 months. It's on the BI calendar, the My Ohio login calendar. You guys can feel free to see. We have 2 instances right now. One is an enterprise and one is, we call it a private instance. But we're trying to very hard to make sure we have the same upgrades on either. I won't go into the details, but things like it should be mobile friendly, which should have been from the beginning. It is now, so you can scale. The people who work in it, the scaling and stuff works much better. Initially, you built a great dashboard, but you couldn't scale it to the cell phone, which was kind of a bummer. So I won't go into details, but there's a lot of good things, especially with mapping, and we're working with ODOT to make sure that the layers and the mappings are not just for what Tableau provides, they are for county users based on Ohio. So if you need that sort of data, let us know so we can help you on that. I didn't explain this earlier, but Tableau has 2 components, there's desktop and server. When I'm talking about free loaner license, I'm talking about the desktop. The server is at no additional cost to any of the agencies, so that is always available to you. You don't even have to ask for it. But the desktop is the one that agencies usually determine how many they need, they purchase their own, they maintain their own. I would like you guys to be in touch with your Tableau people, because they are changing a lot of the subscription-based things. They're trying to make it where Tableau Prep is included in Tableau Desktop. I would highly encourage you to take advantage of it. There's something I'm not very 100% sure, but I think if you convert on time, you do get Tableau Prep for free if you are going ahead with that kind of thing. So just talk to them.
Yeah, we are working with Steve Cohen to,
Awesome.
So as far as ODOT's concerned, we don't really have this yet. So in case you're wondering, you're not missing out based on this presentation. We are trying to set up a proof of concept to walk through these steps on connecting to that server. And originally, when the Tableau offering came about, there was not a public publishing.
Right.
We could definitely publish for internal use at ODOT, but we couldn't take that information and make it available to the outside world, which was actually our primary need with the business users at the time that were very interested. So in that sense, it didn't really work for us, and they've come a long way. They've grown a ton over there. So we're looking to restart that initiative to walk through that and understand how all that publishing works, what it's gonna mean to put things out in the public, so that we can have that set up and ready to go. Because I think if you guys were to reach out, you don't have access to the ODOT data in the warehouse. You can go out and they'll set you up, but you can't get to the data here, right? We've got to do that for you. We want to set up an organized publishing site. We also have to take into account all the other reports already built with SSRS, with Power BI, that are published somewhere else in our organization. So now we got some data over, reports out here, now we got reports out here. You know, we're thinking about how do we build that one application that allows, that the application will go point to all these things, but as a user, you're kind of going to one place to get this information, to bring it together, because we have various users who have various preferences on how they want to build things. So there's a lot to it from a governance standpoint, as well as just figuring out the logistics of the individual steps involved in connecting and pushing data through. So just so you know, you're not missing out.
So Katie brings up a great point. Governance is so important, I can't tell you, because you guys are already thinking ahead of it, so that's awesome. And the good thing about Tableau is it's not a heavy traditional tool, so the POCs are much faster. So once you guys have a little bit of idea as to where you guys want to go, just jump on and you should be able to work. And public-facing websites, I showed you a few examples. It's come a long way, and a lot of agencies have actually come on board. I was talking about the difference between the desktop and the web editor, which is now on the server for free. So as you can see, we just took a snapshot. There's not much differences. So if you are at that stage where you want not all the 100% features of desktop, you don't even need a desktop today. This diagram actually is, Jeff Brown is here, yes, okay. So this is something that we talk in terms of synergies. How does BI relate to the IoT and the data analytics? It's a diagram which kind of shows you where what sits, and then Tableau sits, or Cognos Analytics sits on top of all of that. So that's a great visualization to how things are happening currently, and it can be kind of versatile to an agency. This is just the BI stakeholder model. We encourage you guys to contact us and get on BI communications. It's once a quarter, so it's not going to bug you that much, but it kind of keeps you updated as to what are the upgrades, what are the changes, do we have networking sessions, do we have user groups, can I learn from another agency doing the same thing? Those are the things we encourage. So if you get on that, just send us an email in the BI inbox and we should be able to get you on. Next steps, identify those execs in your agency, and Katie would be one of them, I'm assuming, and others, whether it's on the business side, your CFO, your HR person, on the IT side, your IT managers, your CIOs, to make sure that they understand that it has changed and grown and is much more accessible now, and how can you guys basically, increase that efficiency level from 20 days to 1 day or 5 days to 1 minute, and how you guys can contribute better. It's always exciting, right? When you can do something that empowering, it's always exciting. Because you have your day jobs, you come in, you do those things, but once you have these tools and you're like, okay, I can make even a better difference, and that's why my motto at the beginning of the thing was, can I make today better than yesterday? Whether it's in our fields or in our communities. So when we onboard, and once the governance model is a little robust on your side, when we onboard, we do give you both non-prod and prod, so you can have a test and a production environment. We also have documentation and training around it, and we make sure that before giving you the keys to the kingdom, you guys have gone through the site training, which is not a big deal, but it is something that does help you guys. And then this is just an overview, but for individual solutions, so if there is a business problem that you guys are trying to solve, just call us and we'll be happy to sit in and listen and advise you. It's at no cost to you guys, and if that's something that you guys want us to do, we'd be happy to come over. If that's something you want to wait, I want to wait for a month because I'm not sure how it's going to work out, that's fine, totally up to you guys. I do want to talk about the quick start solutions, the targeted solutions as we call it. I would believe that ODOT would have a lot of benefit and potential in that. You guys do some amazing work. I mean, I hear all the good things, and I'm sure a lot of times I'm asked the question, you're from BI, why don't you put this on the internet, just like Katie was saying, and I'm like, I don't control that data. That's not my call. I can help with the tool, but it's your call to make sure that citizens get to see what all the good things you're doing. Okay, October 30th, we have our Tableau Day. And again, it's a great place to network. Agencies tell their stories. You have free on-hand doctor sessions, one-on-one. So if you're building something and you want to go that extra mile and have someone help you in person, just let us know. It's a fun event. We have almost 200, 300 people come to that, and it's a great networking opportunity. That's my email. There was also business intelligence email there, and my cell phone number. So if you have any questions, any things, I do expect all of you to read each slide. Not really. I was waiting. You're all awake, yay! Awesome. But we're not going to go and read the slides. We're probably going to look at what we need. But if you have any questions, just email us, and we'll be happy to answer them. So with that, I think I am done with my slides, but I would like to open the floor for any questions.
name's Bill Welch. I work
Hi,
in
Bill.
ODOT's Maintenance Operations Office. So I guess my predecessor and I had done a lot with like Power BI.
Okay.
For doing reporting, do you see there being use cases for Tableau over Power BI, or do you think it's more just a personal preference? Or
So it's up to you guys. As a state person, I have only tools and capability and support for Tableau. So if you want training for Power BI, I can provide that. But if you want training for Tableau, I can provide that. I mean, both tools have some great things. And Jeff, do you want to add anything?
No, I mean, yeah, I think Pyle's hitting it on the head. I mean, there's the Power BI is out there. It's part of 365, as you guys all know, probably. I think it's the support model question. You know, our enterprise BI team does training and support on Tableau, and you would use Microsoft on the Power BI side. So I think that's really the difference between the two. I mean, you could have a philosophical argument about the capabilities of each, but I don't think that's probably worth anyone's time.
Honestly, I mean, we've been back and forth in IT on this because the state has this offering. But honestly, until very, very recently, Tableau was extremely expensive for that desktop license. It was about $2,000. Where the Microsoft Power BI tool was like $10. So, right? Because of our Microsoft licensing in general here. Neither at that time had the public publishing. So that has been a shortfall of both environments until recently here. And we are working on a solution for the Power BI here. I will tell you, overall, they're very comparable tools. I think it's going to come down to user preference. From an IT standpoint, we're trying to get out of the business of saying this is a standard and really empower the users to go with the thing that works best for them. But in that same breath, we have to tell you what works well in which, right? From a use case standpoint, what are the capabilities, which we're still working through ourselves. And then let's not forget Hummingbird, GQL, Open Text, whatever you call it, it's got all those names, right? Its future version, which we are desperately trying to work with the vendor to get to an upgrade because it hasn't been upgraded in 20 years, is going to have a tool and dashboarding abilities similar to these two. So that's going to give us all that third option, right? So it's like bring your own beer, guys. I don't care what you drink. We're going to provide a safe place for you to drink it, okay? So I think that's where what we really want to do. I will say right now for Power BI, you know, Microsoft's coming in, we're doing regular classes. Bill, if you want in, October 28th. We've got one scheduled up pitch on the list. Tableau, it's offered here. We're going to work through this proof of concept as soon as we get some bandwidth to do it. We've got some ideas on it. That's where we're headed. Now I will caveat this. For these tools, it is not GQL, guys. There is no pretty model that tells you what these fields are that you're looking at and how this table of data connects to this table. You don't have a model. What you have is raw database, right? So you need to really know the data you are trying to create something against. So I look at Chidi. She would probably have an extremely high success rate building a dashboard against the EIMS data. She knows this data, right? She helped design all of that. But I look at Lee, who's very new to ODOT. There's no way. There is no way. You can give her the question, she can understand the question, and she's going to start looking at that data and scratch her head. She's going to have an extremely low success rate trying to build something. So just a word of caution with these tools, you need to know your data. You need to know what you're targeting. And we need to, going back to Ian's presentation we all just came from with the data governance, there's going to be owners for these sets of data. So when we talk about, hey, I want to put this out there and publish it to the general public, that data governance owner is going to probably have to bless that, right? It's going to have to go through that process. Because as a state agency, we've got to be a little cautious about what we put out there in the public. Did the person who built that dashboard interpret the data properly? Does that data match the data coming out of TIMS, a public application that's providing data out to the public, right? We're not putting conflicting information out there. that makes headlines. So we get into the governance aspect of it. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to know more about what we're doing, what they're doing, you got a couple resources here.
Yeah, well, one thing I will say on public, if you do have a public-facing use case, on the Tableau side, it's definitely there. On the Power BI side, we've had the discussion with Microsoft, to be honest with you. I wasn't exactly sure what the answer was, even after a pretty in-depth conversation. So if you're gonna go down if you know your ultimate use case is public, I would encourage you to get ahead of the conversation with Microsoft just to make sure all the licensing and
I think we got the
everything.
same answer you did.
Okay.
To be fair, we just had that conversation. But I think ultimately we're envisioning, and for those of you that are aware of our architecture group that we have, which is kind of like the bright minds from all the different disciplines of IT, we're looking at, maybe we need to build a front end, literally build something custom to ODOT that as we publish to that Tableau enterprise server, as we publish to our internal Power BI server, as we're publishing an SSRS report, as we get to that Hummingbird upgrade, that application has some intelligence in it that's able to pick it up and make that stuff kind of a one-stop shop for reporting. I think that's what we're ultimately going to have to get to, is maybe some sort of front end, because there just isn't anything good out there right now for publishing. That interactive budget, I don't think that's a native look into the enterprise Tableau server where it's published. My guess is that's actually a website.
So
That they
the way
built
it's done
that
is, it's all
touches it.
Tableau inside, and it's in frame, iframe as you guys call it. It's an iframe, and the outside wrapper is the website.
Yep.
So, and that's the case with every public.
Right.
Yeah, and
whether it's
that's
ODOT
why we
or
get so
FBI
much,
or
we get
anything.
stressed out when we're like,
And that's
business
actually
owners,
not very
put it out
hard
there.
to
You can't just do that.
Yeah, we do a lot of, there were a couple of ones earlier that Kyle had up there. We'll build dashboards that are nothing but links to other dashboards, right? Just to make, it kind of creates that portal experience. And again, talking about Tableau here, we're trying to shield people from going into Tableau server, which for some people is a fine experience, but for someone new that needs, drop downs and filters that have already been, the context has been added for you, we do it a lot that way. And so those people have never been, they've never interacted with, analytics.ds.ohio.gov. Like, they've never been to that website. They go to a dashboard that looks like a portal page. It's really a Tableau dashboard that's nothing but a link to other Tableau dashboards. So I would highly, no matter what it is, that's a good user experience when you're, based off your user, what their capabilities are. Send them into a place they can be successful, like Katie said.
We're really
And
trying to
that's the
figure out
point,
some of
is
the best
when we
ways
do
to
that,
do this.
helps performance. And rather than waiting hours and hours as I used to, when I used to do our reporting, it's a few seconds now. And that's the point, is to make it simpler so that the user doesn't know what's behind, whether it's Tableau or any other tool, but it's seamless to the user and it's powerful and making it easy. All right, any other questions? Yes.
Are the version upgrades mandatory or it's optional?
So the server upgrades are every 6 months. We do a lot of research before doing that. We talk to a lot of people that we don't want to be the first case. And so as far as compatibility, you can still be on all the lower versions are supported. As far as I know, Tableau does support all different versions, right? Even
Yeah.
if they're not on the same.
Yeah, so, like 2019-3 came out, I think, yesterday. And so server is the piece that files say every 6 months. If you have desktop, you can be on a different version than server. However, if you build something in your biz using new functionality and our server's not there, it's gonna break when you publish it. So you just gotta kind of keep that in mind. You don't wanna get too far ahead of the server where you could publish something that we don't have. But desktop, because it's a client install, you're up whatever version you want to do. And you can have multiple versions on your laptop too. So if you want to have 2019-3 to play around with it, our server's on, 2018-2, and you want to keep that in case you need to publish, totally fine.
So they've got better at the compatibility. It was a huge problem before, but now it should be good. Any other questions?
How have you guys, what's your experience with linear data with either Power BI or Tableau? So transactional data, point data is easy to map, is easy to filter and aggregate. What's your experience with linear data?
So,
Mapping.
we have
Yep.
almost, what, 80,000, 80 million rows on the linear?
Yeah, so, I mean, it depends, what is the structure of it?
So simply, I want to aggregate the data between section A and section B on Route X,
Yep.
and I want to slice it when I get that aggregation.
I mean, once you get the data married up, it's gonna handle it fine. It's not a data processing tool at its core. So depending upon the amount of transformation you need to do to join and merge and get A and B matched up, you may need to use other technologies.
But that's the data, no, the mapping component, how do you map that so it
So-
changes on your graphs as you change information on that forward?
From a mapping, we're talking a map, so mapping,
So,
I mean,
one thing to understand is that we're not just transactional data when it comes to ODOT. We have a lot of things based on transportation that you don't normally see if you're going to an HR group, if you're going to an insurance group, and so on and so forth. So it's a little bit different.
yeah.
So Derek Troyer has built out a ton of mapped crash stuff on both platforms. He's been very happy with it.
Okay.
And
Well-
it's very interactive with the mapping.
So we had Jordan in to talk to the representatives from Esri for insights, and that was one thing that they were struggling with, is what he was saying. That's why he was there, looking to see what insights could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I can say, at the simplest term, if you have longe and lat, it's not gonna have any problem with it, right? If you don't have longe and lat, it can get to a zip code level, that's it. It doesn't know what 123 Main Street is.
Right.
So, but if you have the lat and longe for it, it'll map it. Integration with base layers that the state has, there's a couple different techniques you can use to do that, depends on your requirements. So I know obviously, I think the majority of the base layers that the state has are ODOT based. We've got some of those in there. We've got job aids on integrating those. If you guys want to see the highway system overlaid with some other data, you can do that. As far as Esri and things like that, I will say that's an area that there's always a lot of innovation. So in the releases, they tend to have a decent bit of mapping stuff in it. I would defer to, Katie saying that Derek's been pretty happy. I would say, Esri integration.
But I just mentioned they're not.
Oh, they're not, okay, yeah.
There's a gap there. That's why
Okay.
Jordan was in for Derek at that meeting. He works with Keston. He
So
works
I have
with
a
Derek.
suggestion here. If you don't mind, can you send us non-confidential data? Because we can do a quick POC and see if it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it's just that they haven't figured out a way to do it. You guys know, that's why I was asking,
Yeah.
what's your experience
Yeah.
with it? Because if they know how, then maybe we can.
Yeah.
But there is that gap.
And sometimes that integration stuff, like Esri, where you can call Esri Maps in, that's a little more complicated than, here's my data source, make it show up on Tableau. But, so maybe to pile their point, maybe we can take a look at it. You can integrate all sorts of other packages. We've done stuff with R and Python where you're calling routines from those. It kind of works like that, but it's, you gotta work with it a little bit.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know you're thinking about this. So just shoot us an email, and we're happy to, want us to come down and meet you. We have to do that. And my name is CIO Course, and I'm
Just trying to help with this case.
Thank you guys.
So that's how this is